The United States entered World War II with a limited understanding of modern armored warfare. The European conflict had showcased the devastating effectiveness of German tanks like the Panzer IV. The US Army recognized the need for a powerful armored force, but initially envisioned tanks primarily as infantry support weapons. Their role was to assist infantry units in breaking through enemy lines and exploiting breakthroughs. This tactical vision emphasized mobility and reliability over heavy armor and firepower, a concept that would shape early US tank designs. The early years of the war were a period of rapid learning for the US Army. Experiences in North Africa and the Pacific revealed the need for tanks capable of engaging enemy armor on equal terms. The limitations of early American tanks became increasingly apparent as the war progressed. The US Army faced a critical challenge to develop and deploy a new generation of tanks capable of matching the firepower and protection of German heavy tanks. In the early stages of World War II, the US Army's tactical doctrine for tanks revolved around two primary roles: infantry support and exploitation of breakthroughs. Tanks were seen as valuable assets to accompany and protect advancing infantry units. Their mobility and firepower would help dislodge entrenched enemy troops and provide covering fire for infantry assaults. This approach emphasized close coordination between tanks and infantry, with tanks acting as force multipliers rather than independent units. The second key role envisioned for tanks was to exploit successful breaches in enemy lines. Once infantry had created an opening, tanks would then surge through, disrupting enemy formations and logistics. These rapid armored thrusts aimed to sow chaos and disorganization, preventing the enemy from consolidating their defenses. This strategy relied heavily on the speed and maneuverability of American tanks, allowing them to capitalize on breakthroughs and penetrate deep into enemy territory. The M4 Sherman, introduced in 1942, became the iconic American tank of World War II. Known for its mechanical reliability, ease of production, and versatility, the Sherman formed the backbone of the US armored forces. Its 75mm gun was effective against most German tanks early in the war. The Sherman's relatively spacious interior and comfortable crew conditions were also significant advantages. It could be adapted for various specialized roles, including tank destroyers such as the M10 self-propelled artillery and recovery vehicles. However, the Sherman also had its limitations. Its armor, while adequate against early war German tanks such as the Panzer II, III, and IV, but proved increasingly vulnerable to the more heavily armed Panther and Tiger tanks that emerged later in the conflict. The Sherman's high profile made it an easier target on the battlefield. While its gasoline engine provided good mobility, it also posed a fire hazard when hit. Despite these drawbacks, the Sherman remained a crucial asset for the Allies, its reliability and adaptability proving invaluable in various theaters of war. Fun fact, some countries post-war still use the M4 Sherman today. Recently, Paraguay reactivated their Repotenciado tanks, which were donated by Argentina for use as training vehicles along with their WWII vintage M3 Stuart light tanks. Other countries include US Sherman tanks as foreign military aid: Canada, Mexico, Argentina, Chile, Egypt, and Israel, using various improved versions of the Sherman. Section 4. The search for a Sherman replacement, prototypes and promises. Recognizing the Sherman's limitations against increasingly powerful German tanks, the US Army embarked on a series of prototype designs to develop a more capable successor. This quest resulted in several experimental tanks, each incorporating improvements in armor, firepower, and mobility. The T20 series, initiated in 1942, aimed to address the Sherman's shortcomings with a lower silhouette, wider tracks for improved weight distribution, and a more powerful 76mm gun. These prototypes introduced technological advancements that would influence future tank designs. The T23, another prototype developed in parallel, explored the use of a more powerful Ford GAN V8 engine. This engine promised increased speed and maneuverability, crucial for exploiting breakthroughs and engaging enemy armor on more favorable terms. The T25 series further increased the Sherman's firepower with a 90mm gun, intended to penetrate the thick armor of German heavy tanks. These prototypes represented a continuous effort to push the boundaries of tank design, and equip American forces with the best possible armored vehicles. Section 5. The challenges of wartime innovation balancing speed and quality. Developing and fielding new tank designs amidst the urgency of World War II presented significant challenges for the US Army. The need to rapidly equip forces often clashed with the desire for thorough testing and refinement of new technologies. Production lines, geared towards mass-producing the reliable Sherman, were initially reluctant to switch to newer, more complex designs. Logistical concerns, such as supplying different types of ammunition and spare parts for a variety of tank models, also factored into decision-making. The debate over whether to prioritize an immediate increase in firepower with existing designs or invest in developing entirely new tanks raged within the Army. Some argued that upgrading the Sherman with a more powerful gun offered the quickest solution. Others advocated for adopting an entirely new tank platform, such as the T26 with superior armor and firepower to counter the German threat decisively. This ongoing debate delayed the deployment of a true Sherman successor until late in the war. Section 6. Baptism by Fire Lessons from the European Theatre. The European theatre of operations provided crucial lessons about the evolving nature of armoured warfare and the need for more capable tanks. The bocage hedgerow terrain of Normandy proved challenging for American tanks, highlighting the need for specialized equipment and tactics. Encounters with German Panther and Tiger tanks exposed the vulnerability of the Sherman's armor and the limitations of its firepower. These battlefield experiences underscored the urgency of deploying a new generation of American tanks, capable of matching the German heavy tanks on more equal terms. The performance of the M4 Sherman, while commendable in many aspects, revealed that its initial design emphasis on mobility and reliability came at the cost of firepower and protection. Reports from the front lines emphasized the need for heavier armor to withstand the powerful guns of German tanks. The Sherman's 75mm gun, while effective against earlier German tank models, proved increasingly inadequate against the sloped armor of the Panther and Tiger. These hard-won lessons from the European theatre spurred the development and eventual deployment of the T26 Pershing heavy tank.